What is going on, guys? We got a pretty controversial video today. I am going to be giving you my top 10 under 23 duos in the entire NHL. Doesn't matter if they're both forwards, both defensemen. It can be a defenseman and a forward. And these are guys that are under 23. So no 23-year-olds, 22 and below. Also in this, I'm not counting Kirby Dach for the Montreal Canadiens. You're not going to see Dach and Caulfield. I think it's kind of unfair to have Kirby Dach just tore his ACL. And another thing before we dive into this, Matias Maccelli, him and Logan Cooley will not be on the list because Maccelli just turned 23 2 weeks ago, so he doesn't fit anymore. They would have probably been like 5th or 6th. Same with Caulfield and Dach. So none of those. Just before like the comments come for me in that, those guys don't count. I didn't count those because obviously Maccelli just straight up doesn't count. The other ones, it's unfair a little bit. So without further ado, let's dive right into it at number 10. And it's not Joe Pavelski, but it's Thomas Harley and Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt Johnston, obviously, great rookie year, led all of rookies with 24 goals, 17 assists for 41 points. I thought he probably should have finished top 5 in Calder. It's a little crazy. He finished like 9th. And this year, it seems like he's taking another positive step to becoming a legit number 2 center. 3 goals, 4 assists in 9 games. I wouldn't be shocked if he hits the 60-point mark this year. As for Thomas Harley, a guy that didn't get a ton of run last year, but in to start this year with 4 points in 9 games, he has looked very good. The advanced stats say that he is already a rock-solid second-pair guy. Wyatt Johnston is a legit future star, but Thomas Harley does hold him back a little bit just because he has not played that much. I can't really put him much higher, so I think the 10th spot is pretty fair. Up next at number 9, Lafreniere and Capo Caco. This might be a little bit controversial. Some people might want them higher. They were pretty high draft picks, obviously. But when you look at them, Caco, I think he's playing better than his production. He only has 1 goal, 1 assist in 10 games. So it's definitely a yikes. Meanwhile, he's playing with Kreider and Zibanejad. So not ideal, but I do think Capo Caco is a good middle sixer right now. He's going to start producing. As for Lafreniere, he has 4 goals, which is 0 assists in 10 games. At this point, they're both solid to good middle sixers. I wouldn't call them good second liners. I would call them good third liners, low end second liners. So when looking at them, Ranger fans might come for me, but at the end of the day, they have not proven. Last year, they did hover around 40 points, which is decent. Again, decent middle sixers. So when looking at them, I think number 9 is fair. Number 8, guys that are playing better than Lafreniere and Caco right now, Arthur Kaliev and Quinton Byfield. Quinton Byfield, he's breaking out right now. Right now, he has 7 points in 10 games. Unlike a Capo Caco, former second-round pick, is playing on their top line. Byfield has finally showed up on that Kopitar and Kempe line this year. Obviously, on pace for like 60 points. He's shooting it way better. He's already 1 goal off his entire total of last year. And he's just playing with that skill and size that we thought that he was going to translate into the NHL. He's finally coming together. Will he ever become like a legit number 1 center? Probably not, but at this stage, it's looking like he's developing into a good first liner. And Kaliev, last year, 28 points in 56 games, so half a point per game. This year, 5 and 8. He really gets in those dirty places on the ice, and I think going forward, he's going to be a pretty decent second liner for the LA Kings. Next up, might be a little bit high on this duo, but I'm going to stand by it. I got Bedard and Korchinski. Bedard, obviously, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points, 9 games. He's generating a metric shit ton of chances. He's like top 10 in the entire league in shots on goal. The goals are going to start raining down for Connor Bedard. 4 and 9 isn't that bad, but I still think he can maybe hit 40 goals. His teammates are definitely holding him back, hence why he only has 2 assists. The line mates are definitely not ideal for Connor Bedard. As for Korchinski, he does only have 3 points in 9 games right now, but I tweeted it out earlier today, an insane stat regarding him. At 5-on-5, they have a 51.3 expected goals percentage while he's on the ice. Compare that to when he's off the ice, it's 36.7. He has by far been the Blackhawks' best defense, which I know isn't really saying much, but like he has the next highest guy is at 45% expected goals percentage and like 3% relative. Korchinski's 15% relative on and off the ice. That is absolutely insane for a rookie. The points aren't there yet because he doesn't play top power play. They're still playing Seth Jones on that top power play. But I think going forward, Korchinski will eventually get that bump, will start racking up points. I think he'll finish probably low mid-30s this year. They're a very underrated duo just because they're not on that good of a team. People might say I'm too high, but Bedard, stud, obviously. Korchinski, future stud. Another another duo of a forward and a defenseman. At number 6, Matthew Boldy and Brock Faber. Boldy obviously has an established 35 and 35-ish guy. Last year he finished with 31 and 32 for 63. And when you look at him, once Kaprizov went down last year, he went on that insane tear. He scored 14 goals and had 7 assists for 21 points in the final 16 games of the season. So he has that ability to take over games. And he's also fantastic defensively. Both of his first years, he's been one of the best defensive wingers in the entire league, especially for a guy that young. He also plays on X lines, so that definitely helps. But they are both so defensively sound. And you look at Brock Faber, he only has 3 points in 10 games, but he is playing 23-37 a night. Dean Evason is trusting him so much, and overall his advanced stats are pretty good. He has a 52% expected goals percentage at 5-on-5 right now, so he's definitely not Jared Spurgeon, but he's filling in a massive way for this team, and as a result is already a pretty decent top 4 guy once Spurgeon gets back. So you got a 35 and 35 goal guy and a good top 4 defenseman. They're a very good duo. Next up, Mason McTavish and Trevor Zegras. A little bit weird because I thought Zegras was the one that would have 12 points in 10 games, and maybe McTavish would struggle playing with Ryan Strome and Vetrano, but it's the exact opposite. McTavish has 12 points in 10 games. Meanwhile, Zegras has goddamn 2 points in 10 games. I think Zegras is going to be fine. He put up back-to-back 65 points seasons his first 2 years in the league. He's going to be perfectly fine. It's maybe a little bit concerning, but he also sat out for so long in the summer. I think he missed a decent amount of training camp, so he's just adjusting right now. You could probably put Minchikov instead of Zegras at this point in for this duo, but when looking at it, it seems like McTavish is developing into a legit second-line center at the very least. He might even be the top-line center eventually if Zegras keeps on stalling, but these are two guys that can probably, maybe because Zegras started off slow, but these are two guys that can both score in the 60s this year. I have absolutely no doubts that both of these guys at this point can score 65 points each. It's a pretty decent duo. Next up, number 4. This is when it starts getting dicey. I have Raymond and Seider here. In terms of this year, solely this year, this duo would probably be a spot or two higher because obviously Seider has 10 points in 11 games. He has been fantastic. He's carrying my goddamn fantasy team. I love him. But him and Wallman have played so well together. Last year they started with Seider and Sherratt. Wasn't good. It wasn't good. He goes back to playing with Wallman. Him and Wallman form one of the best defensive pairings in the entire league. I think he can go for 60-plus points this season and establish himself as a top 20 defenseman. Not top 15, not top 10 quite yet, but a legit number 1. And as for Raymond, is it him driving the line with DeBrincat and Larkin? No, obviously not, because DeBrincat and Larkin are legit top 50 players in the league, but he's carrying his weight. He has 8 points in 11 games. He's definitely the third wheel of that line, but in order to play on that top line, you need to be a good player in your own right. So Lucas Raymond is definitely doing his job, and especially coming off a 45-point second year, which was kind of disappointing for most Red Wings fans, he is showing some life and showing some scoring ability that maybe we didn't see last year comparatively. So I think number 4 for them is pretty fair with the possibility of potentially rising. Next up at number 3, this picture's grainy as hell. It's the only one I could find of them. But we got Dylan Cousins and Owen Power. Obviously, Cousins last year, 31 goals, 36 assists for 67 points. 7 points to start off this year in 10 games. I'm not sure he's going to take that next step, considering it is weird. He played 16:30 a night last year. He's only playing 15:50 this year, so his ice time has kind of gone down. But I think going forward, he's a mid-60s, 30 goals, 35 assists type guy. So he's still a stud. He's still another stud, still a reliable guy, better than Lucas Raymond in my opinion. And then Owen Power is taking that next. He is taking that next step. 6 points in 10 games. He leads the entire Sabres defense corps in expected goals for with 55.7. That is very impressive. I think when he's off the ice, it's something like 45%. So he has been fantastic. He's really maturing defensively. Last year, the offense was there. I mean, he doesn't play power play, so he only finished with 35 points. But last year, the offense was there. With him this year, he's really stopping plays on the defensive end, using his length, using his long stick to break stuff up. And that's what's really impressed me. The offense is coming more naturally for him. I think he's going to end up in like the mid-40s, but it's that two-way game that I'm looking at for an Owen Power, especially considering he's probably never going to play on that top power play, so they do need him to be maybe more defensive. Rasmus Dahlin's just such a beast, but he's developing really good, and as a result, I have that duo at number 3. Number 2, we got the Senators duo. I couldn't find a picture of them together. So this is from like the Athletics 2020 redraft. But they were brought into the league together, or not together, but they were drafted in the same draft. Tim Stützle, Jake Sanderson. Stützle's picking up basically exactly where he left off. He has 10 points in 9 games. I was a little bit hesitant on him. People said, oh, he went from 56 to 90. He's going to score 105 this year. I knew that it was not a down year, but I think he was going to go for 90 again. I think he's around that kind of player. The jump from 55 to 90 versus even 90 to 105, 90 to 105 is way harder than when you're 20 years old going from 59 to 90. The Senators, in my opinion, I think they're still going to make the playoffs, but Stützle's probably going to be a 90-point guy, which again is very impressive. Better than Dylan Cousins, better than Lucas Raymond. But I think people did kind of overhype him a little bit coming into the season. And then as for Jake Sanderson, signs that massive deal. Some people clown him. He started off very solid. 7 points in 9 games thus far. 3 goals, which is 1 goal off his entire total last year in 77 games. So in my opinion, he's looked a lot more comfortable in terms of shooting the puck. His shots on goal are up. So this duo together, I think Stützle legit 1C at this point. Sanderson looking like, at the very least, a very good top pairing defenseman, maybe even a low-end number 1. It's a very good pairing, but it's a very good duo. But at number 1, you can probably assume who it is at this point. It is the Hugheses. It is Jack and Luke Hughes. 43 plus 43 equals 86. Yeah, that's the right math. But they're studs. I mean, Luke isn't as... I'm not ready to say Luke is better than Sanderson, Power, Seider, but Jack is so much better than Stützle, Cousins, and Raymond. You know what I'm saying? Like, compare the difference of Jack versus the difference between Luke and the second best player in the other duos. Jack is just on another level. Jack's playing like the best player in the entire league. So it's really not close. It's similar to like McDavid just being on that. If you partner anybody with McDavid, like they just go to the fucking moon in terms of a duo. But obviously Jack Hughes, 20 points in 9 games. He is the Hart front runner right now. Pearson, all that good stuff. So in looking at that, and Luke's been good in his own right. What does he have? 7 points, I believe, in 10 games or something like that. Luke's top 3 in Calder right now. So they've been very impressive. Luke has shown that he is already a good top 4 defenseman, good offensively. So when looking at them, I think it pretty easily is them. I don't think that's that controversial, but let me know in the comments, what do you think? The order goes Johnston and Harley. Then it goes Capo and Laugh, Byfield and Kaliev, Korchinski and Bedard. Almost said DeBrincat. Then Faber and Boldy, McTavish and Zegras, Seider and Raymond, Cousins and Power, Stützle and Sanderson, and then Jack and Luke Hughes. Let me know in the comments, though. What do you think about this list? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? Who would you include? And as always, I'll see you in the next one.